And joining us in the studio to speak further on the Samoa agreement, we have the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Bagudu Abubakar. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
Okay, it's clear now that Nigeria has not signed a $150 billion agreement. So, for clarity's sake, what exactly is contained in the document? What did Nigeria sign?
Thank you. Earlier today, we addressed a press conference where we confirmed that Nigeria, among 79 other countries that belong to an association called Organization for African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, did enter into an agreement with the group of countries known as European Union, 27 of them. This relationship goes back to 1975, when the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States was created. And the first agreement between the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States was signed then. Equally, in the year 2000, a new agreement was signed following the expiration of the earlier agreement signed in 1975 between the EU countries, European Union countries, and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, 79 countries. And it's called the Cotonou Agreement because it was signed in Cotonou, the capital city of Lomé. The Cotonou Agreement itself was to expire in the year 2022, but it was extended up to 2023 while a new agreement was being negotiated between the European Union and those, again, the group of countries known collectively as Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, to which Nigeria is one of the 79 countries. This agreement was entered into in Samoa, one of the Pacific countries, which is a member of the OACP countries, African, Caribbean, and Pacific countries, and the agreement was signed in November. But Nigeria did not sign then because countries have the option of further studying the documents and signing on or before June 30th, 2024. Nigeria did sign the agreement on June 28 and 28, 2024, and it is a framework agreement with 103 articles, general articles, which apply to all the three group of countries, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific, and equally 79 additional articles which apply to countries in the African region. In all these 182 articles, which have been reviewed by Interministerial Committee led by the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning because of our mandate in entering into bilateral economic relations or guiding the entry into bilateral economic relationship, together with the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Federal Ministry of Justice. We reviewed all the articles, and there is none of the articles that is offensive to our constitution, law, or morality. There is no mention of LGBTQ in the totality of the agreement. There was no offer to give Nigeria 150 billion euro. It's a framework agreement covering diverse areas: climate change, education, health, human rights, cybercrime, and so on and so forth. And what it does is it to provide the enabling environment for signatory countries to approach the European Union on those areas which the cooperation covers.
Okay, Honorable Minister, if I come in now, it's good you mentioned the cooperation, talking about the benefits for Nigeria, and based on the documents, you know, I was privileged to lay my hands on them. Nigeria has benefited from the Cotonou Agreement before the Samoa Agreement. So these are some of the benefits for the country. Can you expatiate more on what Nigeria stands to gain being part of this agreement?
Well, that's what I said. Just like the Cotonou Agreement, which covered a number of areas, this equally covers different areas as diverse as just as I described, from climate-related areas to cybercrime, to terrorism, to food production, all the things that we think are of importance to Nigeria and in which cooperation with other countries can make us do better. But it does not, it's a framework agreement, which means it's an agreement which provides you the opportunity for both the federal government, subnationals, and even our private sector to approach EU and EU institutions to say, pursuant to the framework agreement, can we do this with you? Can we do that with you? It always requires and anticipates that further agreements will be entered into. For example, under the Cotonou Agreement, Nigeria benefited in different programs for the federal government, for the state government, and for the private sector, at least was 1.7 billion euro. With the Samoa Agreement, we intended that it will even be more. And this will provide the opportunity for us to access more resources, not just the federal government, but states and the private sector, because the cooperation agreements have trade facilitation, investment, investment articles that will enhance the ability of our private sector to access private capital.
Okay, and it's glad you just explained further on that aspect. But the concern for Nigerians today is the whole controversy. We're seeing, you know, misinformation flying across media, you know, outlets. How would you react to that?
We appreciate the right of Nigerians to be concerned. However, we are very clear today and in previous communication that this agreement does not contain the offensive provision being suggested, either explicitly or impliedly. Our reading of it does not show any of the articles that offend our constitution, law, or morality. And we thought that those who have maybe either of misunderstanding or who have mischievously stated this, confronted with the fact, will retract. We know, of course, some people are doing it because maybe for them it's politically expedient, but we are hurting our nation because this is not true. There is no provision as alleged, both in terms of the LGBTQ rights and indeed the offer of $150 billion. So, but we know that the majority of Nigerians who relied on the earlier misrepresentation may need more information, and that is why we take further steps to ensure that opportunities that you have provided, among other media outlets, among other very nationalistic and patriotic Nigerians, to provide outlets so that we can restate these facts. And today we presented the agreement to the media, outlets, so that they can look at them and show us if there is anything that we missed out, because we certainly are clear that the offensive provisions are not in those documents. And let us all be mindful that the world is watching us as we do this. So if our media can be adamant. So some segment of our media can be adamant on something that is incorrect. This will affect certainly our perception and perception of investors.
Building a nation, Honorable Minister, requires a collective approach. What's your message, religious leaders, every strata of the society? What would you tell them?
Earlier on today, I issued an appeal that our President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had decided to confront the challenges facing our nation, not blaming anybody, not blaming the past, but taking from where he was sworn in and taking very difficult decisions, going around the world to convince people to support Nigeria. And we are achieving positive reception. Part of it is from European countries. The German Chancellor visited Nigeria. The French President had met with Mr. President. Netherlands, Denmark, visiting delegations from different European countries, among other nations. We have visited Nigeria and are acknowledging the commendable and giant steps the President had taken to reposition Nigeria, to encourage investment, and we must not discourage it by reports which are not correct and are misleading. Equally, we have seen in countries like Saudi Arabia, where Mr. President visited, how their leaders were even comparing him to their own crown prince and the commendable reform efforts. This might look trivial to some, but they are commendable achievements for Nigeria, and we need to support our president more. We need to know that we need resources from outside Nigeria, from investors, both domestic and international, in order to fund our priorities. We are not aware of any condition that is offensive to our constitution, law, or morality. And Mr. President would not agree or acquiesce for us to enter into any agreement that offends our sensitivities, our morality, our laws, or our constitution.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for that proactive step taken to address the issue. And of course, the presentation of the agreement to the public, I'm sure, will ease the apprehension. He is the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu. Thank you so much for joining us on Weekend File.
Thank you.